It's kind of wild to think about, but the motor in your car or the ones running a giant factory, they're all based on technology that's been around for almost 300 years. But what if I told you there's another idea, one that's been forgotten since the time of Benjamin Franklin, that's now roaring back to life? Yeah, this isn't just some small upgrade, it's a complete rethink of how we make things move. Okay, let's get into it.
I mean, it's a pretty wild question, right? We're talking about something called the electrostatic motor. It used to be just a science fair curiosity, but now it's looking like it could challenge the very foundation of modern industry. So, how on earth could something so old suddenly be the key to our future? Well, to get that, we've got to first look at the motors we're all using today. You see them everywhere, and they're incredibly powerful. But for all their success, the motors that run our world have some really serious hidden flaws. And as we all push for a more efficient and sustainable world, those flaws, well, they're getting pretty hard to ignore. The basic idea is actually beautifully simple. You take a bunch of copper wire, run electricity through it, and bam, you create a magnetic field. It's like using electricity to make a magnet. This magnetic field then plays tug of war with powerful permanent magnets, pushing and pulling to make the motor spin. That's it. That's the workhorse of the modern world. But that simplicity is hiding some deep problems. And here are the big three. First, those powerful magnets are made from rare earth metals, and that creates a really fragile supply chain that's often tangled up in global politics. Second, these motors waste a truly shocking amount of energy just by getting hot. And third, the main ingredients themselves, we're talking copper and special electrical steel, are expensive, and their prices can be all over the place. And this waste is just staggering. In a normal industrial motor setup, a full 35% of the electricity you pump into it is completely lost. It just radiates away as useless heat. This happens for a couple of reasons. You've got friction from the gearbox, and then you have something called joule heating, which is just a fancy way of saying that copper wires naturally get hot when electricity flows through them. It's a huge waste of energy and a huge waste of money. So, with all these issues piling up, industries have been desperately looking for a better way. And funny enough, they found the answer not in some futuristic lab, but by dusting off an old idea from the history books, one that was abandoned centuries ago. This timeline just says it all, doesn't it? Way back in the 1740s, Benjamin Franklin was playing around with static electricity and even built a little electric wheel that spun using those forces. But after that, poof! The idea just vanished for over 250 years. The world went all in on electromagnetism, and this other concept was basically forgotten. Until a modern startup called C-Motive finally figured out how to solve its one fatal flaw. So why did they give up on it in the first place? Well, the answer is simple. Sparks. See, to get enough power, these motors need crazy high voltage. But when you put thousands of volts across a tiny gap of air, the air itself just breaks down and creates a spark, a short circuit. It was just way too dangerous and unreliable to work with. All right, let's fast forward to today and see how this 300-year-old problem finally got solved. This is where a little bit of brilliant engineering and new materials completely changed the game. The big breakthrough is this stuff, a special dielectric fluid. Instead of having air between the moving parts, C-Motive fills the motor with this unique insulating liquid. And get this, it can handle extreme voltages. We're talking up to 4,000 volts without breaking down. It completely gets rid of the sparking problem, and as a bonus, it also acts as a coolant, which keeps the whole thing running super efficient. And when you look at the materials, wow, it's just night and day. We're getting rid of the heavy rare earth magnets, the bulky copper coils, and that expensive electrical steel. Instead, these new motors use thin little electrodes printed right onto standard circuit boards using simple, lightweight, and super common materials like aluminum. The way it works is it's beautiful. You just energize these thin plates with high voltage. This creates this powerful electrostatic force. The same static cling that makes a balloon stick to a wall, but cranked up to an insane level. This force of attraction and repulsion then directly turns the rotor. And here's the kicker. It creates a ton of torque at really low speeds, which means for a lot of jobs, you don't even need a gearbox anymore. Okay, so the tech is really clever, but what does it actually mean for us? What's the real impact? This is where a forgotten little invention starts to look like a massive global game changer. Hey, remember that 35% of wasted energy we talked about earlier? Well, this is the fix. Because you don't have those hot copper coils and there's no gearbox creating friction, this new electrostatic motor hits an efficiency of around 90%. That is a monumental leap forward, turning all that wasted heat back into useful work.
And that incredible efficiency, it translates directly into cold, hard cash. Based on real-world data from C-Motive, a single large industrial plant could save up to $180,000 a year on its power bill. Now multiply that across thousands and thousands of factories around the world, the economic impact is just enormous. Okay, now let's talk geopolitics for a second. Right now, about 85% of the world's rare earth materials, the stuff you absolutely need for traditional motors, are processed in China. This creates a massive vulnerability for pretty much everyone else. A trade dispute could literally bring manufacturing to a halt in other countries.
And this new motor design, it just completely sidesteps that entire problem. It slashes energy use, which helps countries hit their climate goals. It makes supply chains secure because you can build these things with common materials you can find anywhere. And it decentralizes everything, empowering any country to build its own advanced motors without having to rely on anyone else.
So let's bring this story home and zoom in a bit. What could this incredible technology mean for a rapidly growing economy like India? I mean, there's no question. India is on track to become a huge global manufacturing hub. You think about its textile mills, its sugar mills, paper factories. They are all humming with conveyor belts and pumps, all powered by countless electric motors. And for a nation where generating enough power is always a challenge, efficiency is everything.
Just imagine making the country's entire industrial sector 20 to 25% more energy efficient. That would be a monumental win. The energy you'd save could be used to power more growth, easing the strain on the national grid. It's a huge opportunity for the whole country's energy security.
And the best part is, this fits perfectly with national policy. The technology needed, advanced circuit boards, polymers, aluminum, it's all well within reach. With the right support under initiatives like Make in India, the country could become a world leader in developing and building its very own electrostatic motors. So the technology is here and the potential is crystal clear. We're talking about a future with way more efficiency, energy independence, and sustainable growth. All the pieces are on the board for a massive shift in how the world works. The only question left is, who's going to step up and seize this opportunity?